This pipe is way up here, and I've already tried bending it down and it ain't budging, and because this is moved up, it's pushing the bumper back more, so basically I need to cut.
Okay. I bet I know what you're asking yourself right now. What the heck am I doing? Why is the bash bar not centered upright? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how not to build a bash bar.
Hello everyone, welcome to North Dakota Car Guy. If you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you. My name is Adrian, and this is my 1988 Mazda RX-7 FC. In today's episode of Project Dream, I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a bash bar for your drift car. Now, if you guys want to skip to any specific parts in the videos, I'm going to have timestamps and chapters linked into the bottom of the video here and in the description. Alright, so before you even start building a bash bar or any of that stuff, the number one thing is going to be safety. Now, I know you're probably rolling your eyes like, oh, I've heard this a million times, but this is ultra important, and this is the very first step to doing anything as far as bash bars, metal fabrication goes. Two major things are getting gloves and glasses, right? Safety glasses, not sunglasses or anything like that, safety glasses. When you're cutting metal with a grinder and something decides to fly out and it wants to hit you, you can't replace eyes, at least not that I know of. And then when you get to welding, make sure you have welding gloves, a welding helmet, a welding vest, or an overall oversuit. These things are ultra important. You can get shocked, you can get burned, you can catch on fire, which I have seen happen. Not to me, but to somebody else. So before you go anywhere near getting to this point, be sure you have safety gear. So thanks guys for whoever watched this. I greatly appreciate it. Now let's get to the fun part of talking about what you're gonna need with this bash bar. All right, so the first thing you wanna do is figure out what kind of bash bar we're doing. For me, I'm gonna do a bash bar that comes all the way out to the front, so it's perfectly flush with the front bumper, top and bottom. We're gonna do two. Some people you can only do one, or one is fine if you just do the top, but I'm gonna be doing two, so we got one on the top, and then we'll have two that come down the sides of the fins, and then another one on the bottom. So what you'll need is some pipe. I just kind of measured out by, I don't know, kind of guessing, which isn't too professional, but we've got 8 foot here, 6 foot here, and then 2 foot here. I don't know if this will be enough for the rear, but I know for the front that this should be plenty. The pipe I am using is a 1.5 inch diameter with a 0.1 inch sidewall. And this is gonna be pretty sturdy as is. You're also gonna need some metal to basically, this is what we're gonna use to make front plate to attach to, or to weld the tube, a grinder and cutoff wheel and a drill, and then I have some other miscellaneous bits here that we're probably gonna use for the oil coolers and other stuff like that, but that stuff's not so much important. A drill press would be really nice. And we've got some of my boss's pipe benders here, which I believe this is a pipe bender, but this one is definitely for sure. Now, this stuff isn't necessarily ideal, but if you're like me and don't really have a lot of money to play around with, I want to show you guys kind of what I'm gonna do as far as like bending the pipes to fit on the bumper and all that stuff. So the very first thing that you're gonna have to do is take the bumper off. So let's go ahead and do that first. Got such a nice snug fit, I don't really have to do a whole lot. So for the bumper, the idea is that we're gonna have basically a pipe right in here, and it's gonna go all the way along here, but you can see off of these sides, this is where the chassis likes to come down. So we're gonna have to stop this top pipe up here, but the pipe down here, we can actually extend all the way out here. So the way I want to do this is basically have a pipe come all the way around here and then come down to match up here, and then we'll have two pipes coming up. Is that ideal? I don't know. Alright, so with these turn signal parts cut out, we have a super nice and flush finish now to get our pipe in. But first we need to bend the first part. So I've already got it marked out halfway. We're gonna take it on our pipe bender and just very slowly, incrementally bend it up, and then test fit it, bend it up or whatever. And then after that, we'll work on the edges so that basically we can fit it on the inside. Once that's all nice and snug, we will work on the tubes to go from there up so you get the right height and the right distance. And that's probably gonna be the most complicated thing, because then once those are pointing up into that top bar, we can just straight away make the bottom ones. So, because we'll just loop those right in these grooves here. So let's get to testing. Alright, so as you can see, we've got one bend right in the middle. If you kind of line that up, you can see it's starting to look really nice, but then it starts to bow out right about where our turn signal lights are. So what we're going to do is I'm going to measure, so on inches, we've got 33 inches. So we'll take half of 33 inches from our center here. So 33 would be 21.5, 21 and a half. Okay, sorry, had a little bit of a brain fart. So half of 33 will be 16.5, right? So I've marked 16.5 on both sides, but then what's gonna happen is you're gonna get this really staggered setup. So it's gonna be pinpointed here and then stagger, pinpointed there and then stagger. So basically it's not gonna be flush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that measurement and then take that by half, and then basically do 1, 2, 3 little increments. And that's kind of the downside of using some of these tools, is like, this is what's, you're gonna have to do these steps just to get to be nice and flush. So half of 16.5 is gonna be 8.25. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a mark there and a mark there, and then continue the process of just very slowly bending each side. And then also we're gonna have to make sure it's all straight. So I'm gonna make my marks and I'll show you that. All right, so I have made a mistake.
Mistake number 1, not using a leveling tool. Not using a leveling tool while you're making your pipe bends is not a good idea, which you will see why in just a second. Now, instead of going out and buying a tool like this, or this one, or this, I just decide to go ahead and explain why it's not a good idea and go ahead and send it anyway, which you'll understand in a future video.
I don't actually have the tool. Apparently my boss also doesn't have the tool to basically figure out if this is exactly in line with each other. So the problem is because this is curved here, if this is rolled over like this and it's angled like not in the straight line, what's gonna happen is if we make that bend, this is actually gonna be pointing upwards. That's how I know that it's straight. I'm also gonna eyeball it too. All right, there we go. So now that I've showed you this, I'm gonna go ahead and do this for each mark and then show you the end result, because this, if I show you guys me doing this, we're gonna be here for a good 2 hours. So I'll see you in 2 hours.
I don't even know what this is. Desperation or something. God.
Bro, what? Oh, that's a rare, oh, a spider. All right, check it out. We got our bends perfectly on the first try for the edges, which is pretty crazy. This bar is actually gonna be raised up to here, so it's gonna be like just perfectly snug. It's actually gonna sit a little bit higher. Now what we have to do is we're gonna have to make our little plates in there, and then we also need to trim up the sides of the bar here. So we need to do some measuring of height and distance, and it's a mess, and let's get straight to it. And we have some factory bolts and stuff here, or holes for them. So what I'm gonna do is a lot how like this side's kind of made bigger. I'm gonna drill this hole over this way more, and then I'm just gonna use a thinner piece of metal and then make it length all the way past this guy. And I think I might just cut this and then drill a hole to put a bolt behind here. I don't know, I'm still thinking about that. And then we'll just drill the holes on here, and then obviously clean this all up and paint it and all that stuff. And the tube is gonna be welded closer to like here in this area. It's not gonna be up here. I'm gonna go ahead, cut this, and then drill some holes, and then copy it on another one. Except once we drill the holes on here, whatever, we can just flip it and copy it on here, however we're gonna do that. So let's cut this up. All right, and so just like that, we have our plates in here. Don't mind the lines here. I do have a hole in here too, a drilled hole in there, and we got these big old bolts keeping it in, and then we'll put a screw on the bottom. You can see I missed my first one there. So we got this side, and we've got this side in too. This one ended up being a little wonky because I think of that hole I drilled down there was just a teensy bit off. So, but it's okay. So now what we have to do is we're going to basically match our bumper on the car, and then we're gonna figure out basically our height and our length to this slot or wherever in here. And so this is gonna be the hardest part of the whole thing. But I promise you, if you do it right, it will be really good. Okay, so the bumper on the car. There's a few ways I'm gonna measure this. I'm gonna go this way.
Mistake number 2, making incorrect measurements. Now, in theory, what I was trying to do here actually wasn't that bad of an idea. However, what I forgot to equate into my measurements was the angle, the material that you'd be cutting off the pipe, and then welding everything together. You have to equate all that extra stuff into it, because then after I did all that, it ended up looking like this.
All right, so taking a peek into the car now, you can see where our bar is, and there it is. It's sitting right flush up with the bumper. So what we need to do now is basically you just need to backtrack it a little bit so we can make our crease hole here so that our bar can run smoothly in here, and then we'll tack weld it and then test it again.
Which is technically what I wanted, but as soon as I start cutting all the pipe, you can see that all of a sudden the pipe wasn't matching up with everything else, and this is when everything started to get really wonky. Okay, so last night I was here till 1 o'clock working on this, and it's kind of a good reason why not to work that late. If you can see here, our notch is kind of funky looking, and I totally forgot, didn't know how to do a notch. You can see it's supposed to match up like so. Mistake number 3, improper welding. Now, when you're making mock-up pieces for your car, This actually should be done with it on the vehicle. However, I was worried about making a short or something else in the car, and I should have taken the ECU, just unplugged it and stuff, but I was too lazy, so I marked up some stuff to line up and then test fit it onto the table and then move it back over to the car. Now, this kind of worked until I started mocking up the other side. And when you do this, it really should just be done on the car. And then once everything's lined up, then you go back to the welding table to weld everything up completely. And that's why tack welds are important when you're making adjustments and stuff. Because if you don't, well, you end up with this.
She fits. She fits. Oh. Let's get it. All right, so I thought we were done, but we're not. So this pipe is way up here, and I've already tried bending it down, and it ain't budging. And because this is moved up, it's pushing the bumper back more. So I basically need to cut the weld there, and then I need to bend this whole pipe down, and then re-weld it so that the pipe is lower. So it's, this is fab work. Bend it in more. There we go. All right, the final piece of the puzzle. The bumper. There we go. It's not 100% exactly how I wanted it, but it's a work in progress, to say the least. All right, so when working on cars, you gotta understand that not everything's gonna go perfectly, the very first time you do it. There's a learning curve to all this, and I'm kind of feeling that today. I've never really worked on bash bar or tubing or anything like that. I mean, I've done fab work with like metal. I'm getting the sun here. Face is covered in dirt, geez. And everything just kind of tumbled down on the car. I didn't record the last segment mainly because it was just fabbing, but I ended up having to re-weld the bar like 3 or 4 times. It was something ridiculous. And so I've had to recut the holes, and I re-welded the whole thing, and I've just got this giant mess. And I wanted to make like a really good how-to tutorial video on how to do this, but I didn't even know how to do it. And so that's probably the first problem. And so this is the end result of the bar, and you can see like I just couldn't get the bumper to fit up, so I like got all these marks in here trying to get it to fit and bend, and then I had to re-weld these like several times. So like there's several layers of weld on top of each other just to make sure it all stays together. But it's like it didn't end up near as well as I wanted it to, but it's to the point where it's gonna fit. So I'm gonna paint it, and then I'll show you guys a picture of what it looks like when it's done. But it's like, when working on these cars and everything, it's like, it's not gonna go 100% the way you think it is. Kind of like with the thermostat, or the oil bypass valve, and actually the gauges didn't work the first time. And then just all these little things that tend to go wrong on cars, but that's part of the experience, is getting over that learning curve, and learning how to fix things, because I guarantee you what, the next bash bar I make for this car will be 1,000,000 times better than the one we just made today and yesterday. And I've been here, it's like 5 o'clock, and I got here at 7 o'clock today. I had like an hour and a half, 2-hour break at like lunchtime. But besides that, it's a Sunday. I don't want to be doing this, but this is like the stuff we have to do in order to be good mechanics or good, fabricators. It's just part of the learning curve. So with that all said, I'm gonna paint the bash bar and I'm gonna clean up my giant mess because I have to go meet up some friends because we are gonna be watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Big Sonic fan. If you didn't know what my old YouTube channel, if you know what my old YouTube channel was, comment it below, because if you know what it is, either you're watching my old videos or you've been here for a while. So so comment what you know it is or what it was. But I mean, it's just part of the learning curve. And the thing on top of that is that we have a drift event in 2 weeks, but the second week is the comp. So I have about 10 days, 10, 14-ish days, so about 2 weeks till our very first drift competition. I want a bar. We got something that'll work. So I'm gonna stop blabbering on now. So let's get the bar painted, and then I'm gonna call it a day, and then we're gonna come back to building a bash bar for this car. When? I don't know, but we will. We will build a better one, because we also got to build a cage in the car too at some point. So let's paint the cage, or not the cage, the bar.
Count down to midnight, we're slaves to the moonlight. Take it up.